Hello, hello, and welcome along to episode 1 of Intricate Designs. Such a pleasure to have you all with me, and I've just discovered we've got no sound. Let's fix that. That's good. We'll have a technical difficulty to kick off with. No, it wouldn't, but they can't hear that, so... Actually, no, we do have the right... There we go. Okay, hello and welcome along to episode 1 of Intricate Designs. Today I have playing with me... Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh. Today I will be playing Asta.
I have Darth.
Hi, I'm Darth. Today I'll be playing Cinder.
I have Eli.
I could be playing Admin, Lucas K, Boone Nadler, Esquire, PhD.
I have A-Game.
I'm A-Game and I'm playing Nonary Mindo.
I have Trill.
Hello, I'm Trill and I'm playing Royal.
And I have Stevie.
Hello, I'm Stevie and I'll be playing July Landry.
Please tell me I didn't forget anybody. Great. New table, new game, new place, new world. Intricate Designs takes place in the world of Zenic. Zenic is a fairly modern-ish world, little steampunk industrial. Between these vast cities lies a wilderness that is untamed and unmanageable. However, within the cities we have large industrialized built-up cities, and many sort of dark images within those. Some of our players know the cities a little better than others, but some of them are hiding away miles from anywhere. I will come first to Eli. Eli, please could you tell us a little bit about your character and tell us where we would find him on this present pleasant day.
Oh, first up on Sports Call. Admiral Lucas K, Boone Nadler, Esquire, PhD, is a goblin. He's old for a goblin. Appears to be about mid to upper 40s, which for a goblin is fairly old. Only about like 3 to 3.5 feet tall. Nice little mutton chuck beard that kind of goes full 1800s up until under the nose, pretty much stark white. Nice little three-piece suit, a little kind of frayed and tattered, around the edges, but still pretty appropriate and pretty fancy. Nice little pocket watch stretched across his little goblin belly. That's a little pudgy in his twilight years. Nice little, and then topped off with a nice little bowler cap on top to cover what he likes to avoid, his little balding spot on top of his head. You would find him in his, most likely, in his office in Nasugori, where he primarily works now as a detective or private eye. He's most likely going over current or old case file.
Does he have an office of his own?
Yes, he does. It's kind of stereotypical film noir, little bit.
Great, let's start with that. Bear with me a second. Sorry, I got up to the word film noir and then everything went to shit. It's always first day gripes. Sorry, he has an office of his own, does he?
Yes, it's kind of like, as I was saying, it's kind of like that stereotypical film noir kind of, nothing too fancy. Blinds and shades a little askew, but still kind of overlooking one of the main drags of Nasugori. It's lined with bookshelves of previous case files and different books and such. Some naval memorabilia from his time serving, and yeah.
Nice. And as you're sort of sat in this office contemplating and reading over case files, you hear a knock coming from the door.
Kind of. Hello?
Delivery, sir!
I don't believe I was expecting one.
Well, you have one nonetheless. As you look out, there is a sort of fairly well-dressed human, sort of light sandy hair, and he appears to be carrying a small parcel in his hand, small package. He is wearing a little tag that shows that he is of the Messengers Guild.
Who sent you?
Just my standard deliveries, sir. Something comes in the post, I bring it to the address where it's addressed. This is you, is it not? Admiral Rufus?
So it would seem. Thank you, boy.
And as you take it, there's a sort of small envelope and a beautifully and intricate carved wooden box.
I'll say, again, he's not a wealthy man, but he, still appreciates someone doing their job, and he kind of hands the delivery boy, a copper or two, and kind of nods and says thank you.
Right you are, sir. Thank you very much. And he sort of nods, and once he's given you your delivery, he heads off, leaving you clutching this intricately carved box. It's no specific design. It's just very well engraved, very beautiful. It's obviously an expensive piece of work. It's approximately sort of 5 inches square and a couple of inches deep.
And just kind of stares at it as he heads back to his desk and kind of plops down and places it right there. And on the note, is there any writing on the note?
Yes, so it says Admiral Rufus K. Boone Nadler, and then your full address at the detective agency.
Does the penmanship look familiar in any way?
No, but it is beautifully scribed. Make of that what you will.
Fiddles with it. He puts it off to the side. Pulls out a little letter opener that he has sitting on the corner of his desk and pulls it out, cuts open the letter and unfurls it and starts to read through it.
Okay, and as you open this up, it simply says, "We know your history and we know your lies. The details of your discharge will be made public unless you attend the Alchemist Tavern in the Dock Ward in Valla at the 8th hour past noon on Hammer the 14th.
And you see he has these like tiny little circular glasses that kind of sit on kind of like on the bridge of his nose, and as he kind of reads this, you see they just kind of, his eyes kind of get wide and they just kind of like slip towards the end of his little crooked goblin nose. Kind of puts that to the side. And is there a lock on the box at all?
Nope.
Or is it just kind of...
Nope, it's a little sort of clasp. You just can flick it up and the box will open. And as you do flick open the lid, hanging sort of, the box lid comes up and it's actually hanging on the lid, is a large sort of bronze star. The star is beautifully engraved, and you recognise this immediately to be a Navy star for distinguished service. And written very neatly upon the star is your full name and rank. You recognise this to have been something that you sort of had to pass up when you were discharged from the Navy.
kind of pick it up and quickly kind of put it down and kind of throw open the door and kind of like look out and see if I can see the messenger at all, or is it just the busy crowds?
As you look out the door, you look down to the left. Something catches your eye. As you look a little more closely, you see the cap, shirt, braces, and name tag of the Messenger Guild member. The man himself is nowhere to be seen.
Kind of walk over to it, look around, and kind of I'll pick up the outfit and kind of look through it, rummage through the pockets, see if anything's there.
The only thing that you... actually, give me an investigation check. There may be two things you notice. But the first thing you'll notice immediately is a little piece of parchment falls out. And it just says, Rufus, do not take our threat lightly.
Okay. Threats and the first roll of the campaign. That is no pressure.
Luck.
You said investigation?
Yep.
13.
13? Yeah, you notice that perhaps this shirt is a little too well made to be a courier's shirt. And it looks like the sort of slight dirt marks have been actually put on the shirt. Somebody's made an effort to make this look like a worked shirt, but they've done so in a hurry. And as you ponder that message, it is currently the 3rd of Hamel. You have 11 days to get yourself to Valla. And get yourself to the meeting. But we will leave Rufus contemplating. And I will come to our second player. Josh, please tell us a little bit about your character. Sorry, actually, I'm just going to flick back to Eli one moment, because I realised that the one thing you didn't mention was mechanically your class. If you wouldn't mind just telling us what class he is.
Of course. Yes. Despite his years of Navy service, once he left the service, he got into detecting and private eyeing, and he is a rogue, specifically an arcane detective rogue, a homebrew subclass.
Yep, fantastic. Yeah, Josh, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your character.
Sure. So Asta is a drow elf. He is quite tall. He's about 6'5". He has very long, flowy, dark hair with little curls at the ends. He wears attire that you probably wouldn't really see in the city. It's kind of like ancient Greek, just kind of fabric wrapped around him. And he has a long necklace that at the end has a little black crystal that has little white dots in. Almost looks like this night sky. And he is a Circle of the Stars druid.
Okay. And where would we find Asta? It's early winter. It's sort of 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Where would you find Asta in the morning? Jesus. Probably still in bed.
Okay.
He's a bit of a night owl, so yeah, probably fast asleep.
So just for my convenience, we will follow you to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, as you eventually get yourself up, and you did make an agreement with me that you would go out, so if you would.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't stay in all morning, but yeah, just for the until at least noon.
Where is home?
Home is where the heart is. Home is
not in terms of the map, but in terms of
No, yeah. So he lives in the middle of a foresty area. He's kind of made his own makeshift home. He's dug out the insides of a tree and dug underneath it where there's an underground, basically a hole that he's made his own home. and made like a false tree bark to hide the front door. Yeah, that's where he lives, really.
Okay.
And being 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he'd probably be going out.
Maybe to gather some food.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of like lives off the land. He'd go out looking for some like berries, maybe a coconut tree.
Yep.
If there is,
Thousands of coconut trees in the forest,
so
obviously.
many coconut trees here. Yeah, but you know what I mean, like just that kind of foragey stuff.
Okay. Your afternoon passes fairly uneventfully, and you manage to get yourself something to eat. The weather's quite pleasant for early winter. It's approximately the 8th of Hammer for you. Hammer is the sort of equivalent of December. It's the midwinter month. We do have midwinter in Hammer. So as you sort of manage to get some decent forage for this time of year, as you come back home, your makeshift front door stands open.
Oh no. So as he's probably not even looking up as he's walking, but then as his eyes drop and he sees the doors like being moved to the side, he just kind of stops and just stares. Like his heart's like dropped out his arsehole, and he's just like got this like heart-wrenching feeling. And as he like steps into the front door, he's like the area around his body like pulsates with magic as stars appear all over his body, and a glowing bow and arrow appears in his hand. He kind of like draws it ready to fire. And he kind of like as he goes into he's kind of muttering out loud to himself like, "Oh, I'm sure it's just the wind. Yes, the wind, that's what moved the door. Yes, this is absolutely fine, silly wind." And he'll like close the door behind him, but still like be readying his bow and arrow.
Even as you do this, you notice a couple of muddy footprints. There are no prints outside the house, but a couple of muddy footprints on your floor. But immediately your eyes are drawn to something else, as written upon the wall in blood. To your senses, it doesn't look like it's human blood, but blood. Sort of, the blood is dripping out of rivulets that have been carved and charred into the wall, as if somebody has taken a scorched chisel and written on your home. "We can find you wherever you hide. Stop running. Be at the Alchemist Tavern at 8 p.m. on the 14th of Hammer."
He kind of like stands there like just in complete shock, I mean, first of all, that's a lot of blood to use for a long message on the wall. And he kind of like looks around the corner, like into the little rooms he's made, like just checking, going under the bed, making sure no one's hiding there. And then like he drops the form and he walks up to the message on the wall and like puts his hand on there, and he like it's just fear in his eyes, like just completely paranoid, and can hear like the wind blowing outside and like thinks someone's there, and he's like very looking around, very on edge.
But search as you might, you find no signs of who left this message. I'll leave you to pack your things.
How rude! I don't even have prestidigitation to clean it off. Jesus.
What a tragedy. And instead, I will come to A-Game. A-Game, please tell us a little bit about your character and tell us where we would find you at the beginning of winter.
Well, Nonary is a flump arcane polymath wizard, a relatively young adult for his kind of flump people. He doesn't really wear much clothing except simple dark priestly robes on what may be potentially his back, as there are many little holes, what may be mouths on his whole body, and features similar to eyes that give little hint to any actual front or back of his personage. The whole reason he wears this only piece of clothing, due in part to being part of a religious cloister of flumps that pray to the Dusk Maven, goddess of death. His appearance is pink in color, and it often changes depending on his mood. He carries with him many little packs on his tentacles that contain that which he cares for in this plane of existence, holding dearly onto a large mushroom cap that has been dried, with many similar additional caps that have been glued onto it over time with sap and other things you would find in the Underdark, as he would be currently uh, sleeping and promptly waking up in a guest room of a Underdark food gathering company's temporary basing, alongside other flumps resting in the room itself.
As you are sort of resting, you feel a psionic disturbance. As a very well-dressed mind flayer steps through the wall, makes a deep bow to you, and speaks into your mind. Nunnery Minder, is that you?
Strange guest. Hello. You've called for me.
A delivery. And he places 2 polished black obsidian stones and a single red crystal onto the floor in front of you. And then he sort of takes a deep bow and, with your leave. And before you can even sort of respond to that, he steps back through the wall psionically and vanishes.
Okay. Well, upon this sudden awakening and meeting with a flump he hasn't seen before, his skin will kind of start to grow greenish with curiosity. He's not unsure of what has just happened, but he'll look to both objects of which he's been given and begin to kind of, with his telekinetic powers, use his psionic mage hand to try to pick him up.
You quickly ascertain that these have a telepathic message imprinted on them. Each of the obsidian stones and the red gem. If you were to touch them, it would impart its message.
Alright. He would then kind of slowly floating near them with 3 of his tentacles just impart each one on all 3 to get the message imparted into his mind.
Okay, so I'll sort of go one by one, because it's 3 separate stones, each one imparts a different message. As you touch the first of the obsidian stones, you see immediately Tierra. Now, you obviously know Tierra yourself, and you see where they currently are, what they're doing. They appear unharmed. In turn, when you touch the second obsidian stone, you'll see Bronk, or Bronch, I'm not sure on the pronunciation of that, you'll have to correct me. But regardless, these images are taken from sort of 6 or 7 feet away, as if watching the character, Tierra and Bronch. However, when you then place your tentacles upon the red gem, it simply says, they're unharmed, for now. You will make your way to Valla, to the Alchemist Tavern, at 8 p.m. on Hammer the 14th. If you do not do so, they will not die, but instead live a life of pure suffering. Any attempt to reach them, and they will die.
News of this, Flump not only doesn't really get angry at this, but he gets more so very saddened by this news as he begins to turn blue and grows slightly yellowish as well to form a different kind of color, as he's very surprised and upset at this sort of news. He will look to the others in the room and call out psionically, "Friends, friends."
There's a stirring as they sort of move around in a sort of momentary, almost not necessarily panic, but I think psionic communication definitely reveals more of your feelings than perhaps otherwise. And you will notice each of them sort of echo the colours that you're glowing in as they show their sort of trepidation and worry for what might have occurred.
Grave news. I must depart. I cannot stay. I must ensure that my friends are fine.
There's a lot of sort of
fine, though.
echoing your thoughts as they sort of say, friends, news, issues. What's going on?
As he'll kind of then show the stones he's been presented to them all as well.
If I can
passed.
If I can hold you there. As soon as one of these flumps gets into contact with one of these stones, you hear a scream psionically. And the flump that happened to make contact with that stone quickly collapses upon the ground, his mind shattered. He is not dead, but he is incapable of any speech, thought, movement.
That's orange. That's orange right there. Oh no. Oh God. Oh no. Oh Duskmaven. I go into panic. Oh gosh. Friend, what's wrong?
The other flumps quickly surround him, and between you manage to ascertain that these stones are restricted to your eyes and ears only, or mind only, I guess, and that to pass on any details may create the same problems for your other friends.
Much apologies, my friends. I've brought this pain onto you as well. This is clearly my burden alone. Apologies, but I will be unable to help lead you for a bit of while.
There's a sort of I can only describe it as a gaggle of panicked geese as they sort of float around and trying to get in each other's way and stuff, sort of, what of us, what of us? But as you quell them and make preparation, you have 6 days, and the Underdark is never a straight route to Valla. Your way you must make, and we shall leave you there, as we will come to Trill. Trill, please tell us a little bit about your character, and tell us... Oh, sorry, actually, I've just done exactly the same thing. A-Game, you are a wizard, is that correct?
Yes, arcane polymath wizard. I think I said that.
You may have done, but my brain didn't register it. Sorry, Trill, tell us a little bit about your character, tell us where we would find them on the first day of winter.
So we cut into a pretty busy street, and there's a pretty obvious figure cutting their way along it. Their skin is bright green. The hair is a little bit darker in color and has brown kind of ends cut to the mid of that. They're an obvious elf. They have pretty long ears, though those are noticeably kind of downturned off to the side, rather than kind of up and prominent. They wear a pretty nice set of clothes, kind of off black with darker green trim to it. They look pretty nice, especially for kind of the neighborhood they're traveling through. And they have something in a little paper sack on their side that they're carrying. They are notably in Valla, but it is pretty obvious the way they are acting. They have not been there before or very long. They are watching everything with fascination, and everything around them is street urchin children and basic market business and stuff, but they seem fascinated by the going-ons. This is Royal enjoying a nice morning, enjoying their new city on a walk. When they pass one of the groups of urchins, their eyes temporarily kind of glow a blue. There's faint outlines of kind of horns for a second as they cast a little spell, and the ball that the kids are cooking around shoots out of the way from the kid trying to kick it, like poor Charlie Brown. When they turn to look at Royal, they feign innocence, hands up. And then without the glow this time, back behind the kids, the ball swerves again and goes farther up the street. They are a sorcerer. They have innate magic. They are a homebrew subclass to do with being an Eldrin and the seasons. But they continue on their way after teasing some children, which seems to amuse them as they go along. And they seem to be headed up to a boarding house where evidently they must be staying pretty recently. They're trying to get on their landlady's good side, so they have brought her a pastry for the morning, which is what's in the little brown sack that they're carrying. So as they climb up the steps, they reach in to pull out a pastry to offer their landlady inside before heading up to their room.
Okay. As you arrive in your room, sat upon your bed is a blue fairy. Hopefully that just appeared on your screen, right? Yes, great. I never know with these things. This blue fairy sort of looks over to you and rather gently sort of, well, it seems that you've made it back. Oh, what a shame for you. What a tragedy.
Oh,
Royal, is that correct?
yes.
I've got a gift for you. And with that, she pulls out a sort of beautiful painting. And beneath this are sort of various other drawings. All are incredibly lifelike. Well, you see a bright flash of light, and you just hear a sort of whisper in your ear, and enjoy. And she flies out the window, leaving you staring at these strange gifts.
She probably stares after the fairy for a second, like hand partially raised as if thinking of doing something and thinking better of it. About 3 seconds after that thought forms, then they turn back to look at the paintings and study what's in them.
Okay. These are all paintings and drawings of you. In all 4 of your colours and forms. You quickly get the impression that somebody's been keeping track and tabs of you for quite a long time. And they're a pretty good artist. That's nice, isn't it? Regardless,
Quite flattering.
as you're shuffling through these papers, a message falls out onto your lap. The message is notably a bit like one of those sort of grabbed from different letters of the newspaper sort of message, as various different letters appear. And they spell out a message directly to you. And the message says, everything about you, your past, your history, and your heritage will be made very public, unless you do as you're commanded. Be at the Alchemist Tavern in the Dock Ward in Valla, at the 8th hour past noon, on Hammer the 14th.
As soon as they read that, Royal again starts to make the gesture to crumple up the note, and their eyes start to glow orange for a second before they seem to compose themselves, and they immediately fold the letter up after that and tuck it into a pocket. And it's, if anyone had been there to watch, if the blueberry had stuck around or anything like that, or Royal's creepy stalker is still there.
I really hope you call her a blueberry to her face at some point in this campaign.
I mean, we'll see that. Kind of would have been disturbing or very weird to watch. There is very obvious, very real anger for a second there, and then it vanishes. Better than most people would be able to read. And it just goes away. They tuck the paintings out of the way, underneath their bed, the notes in their pocket, and they seemingly go about the rest of their day as if nothing has happened.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you at the tavern. But for now, we'll leave you there. And we turn to Duff. Duff, tell us a little bit about your character. Tell us who they are, what they are, where they are, and where we would find them. At sort of the end of fall, I would say, or autumn for those people who are educated.
So I'm playing Cinder. He is a Fire Genasi Rune Knight fighter. And he is about 18 years old. He's been in sort of very country boy podunk town. Has never been to the big city before. But he came from a father who was a very well-known mercenary, and his mom was like a historian, and so he just grew up very sort of not sheltered, but he was sort of taught a specific way to be doing things. If it's mid-fall, he's probably sort of in his own little tiny forge, where he's working on what he's super good at, which is creating different types of runes, which he discovered at a young age he was really good at. And he's sort of working on like just a new rune that he just was like, oh, I wonder what happened if I mix these together, sort of thing.
The day passes fairly calmly, without much effort. But as you look out and you see that the sun is beginning to set, you perhaps wonder why nobody's called for dinner. As your stomach calls to you, you go wandering about the house, only to find that no one's at home. Strange. Didn't say anything about going out. Eventually, you make your way to the kitchen, where you see a small scrolled note. It's in your father's handwriting that says, we had to leave. Quick family emergency. We expect to be back by midwinter. One thing you notice about this is it sort of trails off as if written in beyond a hurry, and realistically your little forge isn't far from the kitchen. It wouldn't have been that hard to just walk past the door. You perhaps get the impression that maybe this was forced. And as you look around the kitchen, suddenly on the counter you see a beautiful painting that you recognize immediately to be Balro. Your lover, or just somebody you are in love with?
Yeah, that one.
The latter, okay.
Yeah.
This painting is beautifully done. The frame is sort of embossed with gold and leather. It's incredibly expensive looking, and very realistic.
That's weird. It's he sort of like his mind is just like still a little slow to grasp everything that's going on. So he's like, Mom and Dad would have said something if they were leaving. What's this painting doing here? It's way too expensive for anything we got.
As you stare at the painting, letters begin to write themselves into the image in flames. Mummy and Daddy will be inconvenienced for a while. We have the girl. If you want her to live and be left in peace, you will attend the Alchemist Tavern at 8 p.m. on Hammer the 14th. If you attempt to contact the girl, she will die. If you disobey, she will die. If you come for the girl, she will suffer and live. She will live to suffer endlessly.
Oh, he's sort of like, as he's like reading this, it's very much along the lines of like he's taking a while to grasp everything, but as soon as he does, his sort of hair, like, which is normally sort of like the coals of like embers and stuff like that of a flame, immediately spark into like a roaring flame as he realizes what's going on, and he sort of, his mind just starts racing, trying to figure out things, and he realizes that dinner is most likely going to be the least of his worries.
That it is. As you spend your time sort of dwelling, the final flames sort of trickle off on the painting, and then all of a sudden it sort of bursts into a dark red flame. It leaves only one eye of her face intact. Everything else is burnt away. We'll leave you there. Have fun. And I will come to Stevie. Stevie, please tell us a little bit about your character, where we would find them, and who they are.
All right. July Landry is a changeling, although she does present as a human to everyone. Nobody in her current life knows that she is a changeling. She presents as an elderly woman, and she is a cleric at the Temple of Lacerta. Lacerta is a goddess who oversees death, and July is a grave domain cleric. Now she has long gray hair and very bright brown eyes, and she looks elderly. She looks like she's probably in her 70s or so. She typically would just be wearing like a normal work dress, But what time of day is it now for her?
Sort of 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And sorry, it's mid, it's early winter, early Hamel.
On this particular day, one of the many things that the clerics do is they will go and sit with dying folks, particularly wealthy folks who have made a nice donation to the temple, and that is what has happened today. So today she is in her full cleric regalia, which is a deep blue set of robes that are embroidered with all the constellations, all the different deities of the constellations representing the circle of life, which is what Grave Domain clerics are all about. So she is in that full garb with her ceremonial mace strapped to her hip. She has a deep blue veil that is kind of pinned back to sort of look like a nun's habit, if you will. And she is very calmly and stately making her way through Nazugori, where she's from, to this wealthy patron's home to assist them in their final hours.
And as you arrive at the door, there is a fellow sister of Lacerta standing at the door. She sort of makes a bow to you. She's elderly, perhaps in her mid to late 70s. You know her well. You know her sister. This is Sister Nancy. You've spent some time sort of passing her as a colleague. She's no friend, but she's you know her to be one of the works of the temple. And she sort of nods to you and, July, I'm ever so sorry. I was sent in your place. I have something for you. A strange fellow who delivered it. Centaur folk, very serious.
Oh. My goodness, I haven't seen a centaur folk since I was a young girl.
Oh, indeed. He wore signs of our goddess, though. He wore a very strange chain around his neck. A single star. I've never seen the likes of it. An unusual contraption. But the centaurs always had their own ways of worshipping, I suppose.
Indeed, yes. I'm sorry, did you say that they sent you in my place? Am I being called back to the temple?
They just said that I would need to make a visit in your place because you would have other business to attend to. Apparently it's explained in this letter.
Oh. I'll take the letter and... all right, I suppose. I thank you for watching over this person's final moments for me. She'll give her kind of the, ceremonial hand sign that they do.
Yep. And she sort of bows her head a little bit, and she heads on in to the patient, leaving you with a letter in your hand. The first thing that will strike you immediately with this letter is that the parchment doesn't seem to be of one texture. As you first look at it, it was just, rather normal vellum. And then it sort of became crispy almost and starched, and then soft almost like cloth. It doesn't stay the same. It keeps changing texture. And written on the front is just July. No surname, no details, nothing else.
I'd like to tuck it into my sleeve and find like a private alleyway or duck behind a merchant cart or something.
Yeah. There's a little sort of alleyway just opposite the house you were going to go into. And you're able to sort of duck in there into the shadows and let me find yourself a sort of a moment of peace. You do notice that this letter has a little bit of a weight to it. And as you open the parchment, something falls out. It is a single circular symbol, and there are sort of two... It's made up of two semicircles that are slightly interlinked, that appear to be swirling constantly. You may not recognize this symbol, but you recognize that it symbolizes change. And a small piece of parchment falls out from this letter, and it's quite simple in its writing. It just says, "We know who you are, Changeling. Your services are required. You will be at the Alchemist Tavern on Hammer the 14th at 8 p.m. Otherwise, things could become difficult for you. You'll spend your life pursued for your talents and heritage. Any family you have will pay the price when the truth comes out. And then, actually appearing in text at the bottom, as you're reading it, it says, "And you better check on Sister Nancy."
The first thing that happens is the letter held in her hand immediately sacred flame
Mm-hmm.
ignites. I'm hoping it burns.
Oh, it does. It burns up quite quickly.
And I will tuck the symbol into one of the pockets of my robes and kind of straighten myself up a bit. Peek around the street. Is there anyone, on the street, or I assume this is like a wealthy home, maybe this is more of a private neighborhood?
You see a little way down the road to your right, a sort of young couple, perhaps out walking for one of the first times. They look to be rather enamored of each other, and they're walking away from you. Far down to the left, you see a gentleman who has all the trappings of a chimney sweep, who is sort of going from door to door, but he's a long way down to your left. Other than that, the road appears to be fairly clear.
Just gonna pull myself into the alleyway as much as I can, and change my appearance to a different sister of Lacerta, just another one that I know of, because when I change, I can't change my clothing, so my clothes will stay the same. So I'm just making myself look like a different sister, and in that form, I'm gonna go check on Nancy.
Okay. As you approach the door, you see a faint silver glow coming from inside. The door is ajar. And... sorry, go.
No, I just have to change my voice. Nancy, are you in here?
No response. The house, it definitely has some people in it. You can hear the clatter of servants down the hallway. But you know where the sick room is. The day room is sort of near the front of the house on the left-hand side. And sure enough, as you head down the corridor, you see a servant standing outside, looking shocked and aghast. She turns to you and... I wouldn't go in there if I was you. The devil is here.
Go find a safe place, darling. Go find a place to hide. And I will
She
charge right into that
scurries
room.
off. As you move into the room, lying upon the sickbed is Sister Nancy. Her skin is withered and old beyond belief, and she appears to have aged almost 20 years. Her skin ruffled like parchment, her eyes dead. Looks like almost like she died of natural causes. Where the gentleman is who you came to say goodbye to, you're unsure. But as you look up at the clock upon the wall, you see it's fixed at midnight, and there is a single dark black eye at the center of the clock, watching down at you. The room goes very dark, as if it is midnight, and then suddenly there's daylight. The clock is as it was before, with no eye. Lying upon the bed is the gentleman you came to see. There's no sign of Sister Nancy.
Take a very deep breath. And is the gentleman on the bed still obviously dying the way that he was meant to be?
Yeah, he's sort of, as you look closer at him, go ahead and give me a medicine check.
Oh, yeah. 19.
Ooh, she knows her medicine. Yeah, he might sort of last a few more days if he's really lucky. But that wasting disease that's affecting his lungs, there's nothing that's going to change. Nothing seems to have changed in his way. It's almost as if nobody's even been in here yet.
Still in my disguised form, I am going to take up vigil and while I am kind of pressing cold cloths into his head, I'm going to pray to Lacerta in my head.
Of course.
I don't know what is happening, but it seems that I will not be able to serve you for a time. After I see this gentleman through, I'm going to go and make sure that this won't affect anyone at the temple.
As you finish the prayer, the gentleman sort of sits up rigid, his eyes black. He just whispers out, "You're always serving the mistress of death in some way." And then he falls back, as if he hadn't sat up in the first place.
The dying are often the wisest among us.
What was that, darling?
Oh, nothing.
Victoria, is that you? Some water would be good.
Absolutely. Must have been hard.
And there we will leave you. And as the six of you make your journey to Valla, we will take a very short break and be back in a couple of minutes. Hello and welcome back to Intricate Designs. When we left off, our party were each receiving different parts of Blackmail, being told that they would need to make their way to the Alchemist Tavern in Valla. As each of you arrives at the gate, sort of apart from Royal, who was already there, most of you are arriving between the sort of 10th and 13th of the month. A day early, a couple of days early. It doesn't pay to be late for a message like that. Each of you will notice the same thing as you arrive. There is a near permanent smog above the city. The streets are winding and dark, and even in the more pleasant areas, the noble districts, etc., even with their gardens, everything is well gated, well bolted, tall, dark, and foreboding. The city reads like a story of gloom and despair. Even the Grand Council chambers that sit high above the entire city and are quite elegant and beautiful in their spires and tall stained glass windows are covered in this sort of black soot most of the year. They stand above the city like the oppression of those that work within it. You all know that the Alchemist Tavern is in the dock ward, as it was in your letters, and as each of you sort of heads over to at least scout it out, the dock ward is not the nastiest and grimiest place in town, but it ain't nice. The river in the harbour and the quayside runs almost black, with rivulets of muck, dirt, and disposal. Ships there are heavily tarred and tend to be relatively small, localized vessels. There are larger harbours up and down the coast, but in the main city of Valla, it's the local dock workers who have the majority of the harbour space. The dock workers are a rough folk, but they'll soon tell you that you can stay in one of the many taverns up and down the street. But they will tell you the same thing. There are no rooms at the Alchemist, or don't stay at the Alchemist, or steer clear of the Alchemist. It's clearly not a place that's nice to visit. As you all sort of, at some point in that couple of days leading up to it, make your way to the Alchemist Tavern, and just to check it out, just to get a look. You'll notice that the insides of the windows are not blacked out, but thick with a sort of smoke and grime. You can barely make out any images through the glass as you press your faces to the window on different moments. Maybe one or two of you will try the door, but even if you go in, you'll quickly feel unwelcome. The bar is dark oak, and the lights are not quite bright enough to really make out the faces of anybody in the tavern. But on the 14th, Hammer, as each of you pass this tavern, on the outside of the tavern are two torches that burn brightly with an orange flame that sputters red occasionally in the dark light. The sun sets approximately 5 o'clock in the evening. And each of you arrive at the tavern a little early. I think first they're probably a little wide-eyed and unaware of too much of the city and how city life works, really. Perhaps even a little optimistic is Asta. As you sort of arrive at sort of 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening, obviously inside you might be worried or whatever, I'm not sure. But as you arrive, you see that the tavern door is slightly open, and it almost beckons you in with a pale golden light. How's Asta really feeling?
Oh, Asta's not optimistic in the slightest.
Oh,
He's
good.
fully expecting to die opening this door. You know, just the worst scenarios going through his head. But he'll put his hand on the door and kind of gently open it.
Okay. Yep, you're able to do so. And as you enter in, the bar is almost completely empty, except for a bartender who stands behind... sorry, I need to do that. Who stands behind the bar, sort of... He's got a dirty rag in his hand, and he's cleaning out dirty tankards. And he wipes down the dirty, sticky bar, and he looks up at you and... I see. Ale or wine?
He kind of looks at him as if he's just spoken a completely different language. And he kind of like takes a couple of steps forward. Ale or...
Ale or wine?
Is there a right answer to this? What's the ale like?
The ale's like ale and the wine's like wine. Given what you're turning up for, it probably doesn't matter what you're drinking. And with that, he starts to pour you an ale from the tap. The tankard is a little dusty, and he puts it on the bar, and he points to a door to your left. He's head on through. You're expected.
He'll kind of like take a couple of steps forward towards the bar. Expected for what exactly? I don't. I shouldn't really be here. So I think there's been a mistake. I think there was a message mishap. You know, walls look familiar all over people's houses, so maybe you got the wrong house, and that's fine. But if it's okay, I'm gonna go.
He looks at you sort of as if he's just not heard a single word you said, and go on through, you're expected.
I'll kind of go to say something and then stop. And then he'll take the tankard, looking at it as if he doesn't know what to do with it. Like, never, like, obviously he's seen tankards before, but he just looks at it so puzzled. And then we'll kind of hesitantly walk towards the other room.
Okay. You see a sort of heavy door that's a little ajar. As you open it, it's a sort of narrow corridor with a light at the end. And when you arrive in the room at the end, it's a dimly lit room. There is a long table. There is nobody currently in here. And you sort of look around, and stepping out of the shadows behind you is a gentleman. He's pretty rough-looking fellow. And he sort of steps in front of the door that you just came through. Take a seat. It won't be long.
As they kind of like jump back, you know, a bit startled, appearing seamlessly out of nowhere. And he just kind of like looks at him like for like a half a minute, just staring, and he goes, is there any particular seat? Is there
He's nearly 7 foot tall, and he sort of leans over and claps a huge hand on your shoulder and sort of pushes you down into the sort of I don't know what you call them, like a long bench that goes around the back of the table. Any seat will do. Just take a seat. It won't be long now.
He kind of like looks up and nods and like looks down, like staring at his drink. He just kind of mutters under his breath, like, "There's so many scars. He probably got them from a childhood pet. Yes, that's where people get injuries from. Yes, childhood pet. Probably put down now, but that's fine. He's got a job, so he's doing well." I kind of look up to him, like saying this all out loud.
He pulls out a vicious-looking dagger and starts picking his teeth with it, and moves backwards into the shadows next to the door.
Yeah, definitely. I'll kind of like look over, like, and then go back to staring at his tankard, still not drinking, just looking at it.
Admiral, I think you're probably across the street at this point. You've seen one person enter. In typical sort of fashion, you're keeping an eye out. And in fact, you notice as a fire genasi comes from one direction. And are you green or orange, Trill?
I'll be orange today.
Fantastic. And an orange sort of Eldrin elf come the other way, and they sort of both reach the door at the same time, and sort of awkwardly arms go out, and you guys catch each other's eyes. Delph and Trill, you both sort of right outside the tavern.
And gestures for them to open the door.
Cinder will sort of like awkwardly just like sort of shake his head and just open the door, but then like motion letting them go first.
Roy was gonna do that anyway, even if you didn't offer, so they just walked straight to the door.
Great. As you come in, you again see this bartender sort of endlessly wiping with his dirty cloth and his dirty tankard. He looks up and... Two at once. It doesn't pour, but it rains. Ale or wine?
Is this on our host tab?
Ale or wine?
Both?
He sort of pours out one tankard of ale and one dusty glass of wine. All wine... Oh, it's a goblet, not a glass, I should say. All wine is red wine, apparently, according to this guy. And he sort of puts both on the bar, picks up a tankard, starts polishing it. Doesn't say anything else for a moment, and then he looks up at... specifically at Cinder, sort of dead in the eye, and... Go on through. You're both expected. And points at the door opposite.
Well, that's quite lovely.
River picks up both of them, turns back to Cinder. Do you want one?
I don't want anything that the man that this man is offering. I don't trust anything in this tavern.
As you say that, you hear this sort of noise at the end of the bar, and this lizard folk, who was sort of in the shadows with his cowl on, sort of pulls his hood back and sort of snarkily looks down at you. Hey, well, he's got that about right. Wouldn't trust anything that old Len pulls me either. Old Vic, sorry, pulls me either. But be that as it may, it seems you've got an appointment. I wouldn't miss it. If he says beer or wine, I'd drink beer or wine if I was you, new folk. And he sort of looks down at Cinder and... My, you're a young one. Your life's going to be ruined today.
How tall is this lizard man?
About 7.5 feet. But he sits hunched over at the bar. He's got sort of really nasty looking teeth, and Vic sort of looks over him and... Sharky, stop telling the guests. Let them find out for themselves.
He'll sort of just walk through the door with that.
Mm-hmm.
River has sampled both the ale and the wine. I assume they don't taste very good.
The ale is sort of watered about 50%. It may once have been nice, but other than that, it's sort of... I mean, all ale is watered in these sort of city taverns, but this is a little waterier than usual. The wine might have been nice 20 years ago.
River will tap both and prestidigitate them to taste substantially better as they start liberally drinking them as they walk into the back.
Cool. As you walk in again, sort of the bulky fellow steps out in front of the door and take a seat. You're both expected.
Quiver salutes them with their two glasses and then goes to sit down.
Okay. Admiral, again, you watch on as a flump sort of comes on down the street and takes a moment, stops in front of the tavern, checks that it's the right one. It is indeed the right one. Nonnery, what are you doing?
Nonnery right now is... he appears purplish as he looks to the building itself, fearful of what he might find inside as he, using his psionic hand, kind of pushes the door open as he slowly kind of floats inside, surveying his surroundings as he does so.
Mm-hmm. And as you, as the door opens ever so slowly, you just hear this sort of snickering of the lizard folk. Look at the ball. And then the bartender looks up at you and... Ale or wine?
I will speak to him telepathically as he directs it to what I assume to be me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the one that has sent the message?
You sort of hear him think to himself, for goodness sake, do they never just answer the fucking question? And then he says out loud again, ale or wine?
Apologies. No, I shall not partake in the holy drink.
Fuck it, go thirsty. He points over at the door and you're expected. Go on through.
Thank you. As he'll kind of just float on to there.
The lizard folk turns to the bartender and just says, "What the fuck was that?" And then as you float on through, once more, Admiral, you see an old friend. Can I assume that the two of you actually probably didn't communicate about this beforehand, right? As you know, both of you are trying to keep your own secrets. So you're quite surprised, Admiral, to see that. Depending on what form she takes, I guess, whether you would recognize her, but I would assume she takes the form in which she's normally seen.
Yeah, July, after leaving Nazugori, would have resumed her usual elderly woman with the long gray hair.
Mm-hmm. And indeed, you see her sort of stop before the bar, before the door of the bar, but you feel a dagger at your back, Admiral. Keep watching. We'll go in shortly.
He's kind of hands in his pockets, and he has as he's across the street, he does have a pipe that he's just kind of slowly puffing on, and he's just kind of stands there. And...
Very good. And we will follow July as she heads on in, and again you see this bartender endlessly sort of dusting his dirty tankards. Looks at you and... Ale or wine?
Oh, wine, darling. Thank you very much.
He sort of pours a goblet of wine, pushes it across the table, nods over the door, and... Go on through. You're expected.
How kind. Do I see the lizard folk at the bar?
Yeah, he's got his cowl back up and he's sort of sat at the end of the bar, but he's watching you quite sharply. Without any dark vision, you sort of, it's difficult to make out the very corners of this room.
Sure.
And it's something about it sort of lends itself to not looking too deeply into the corners. But yes, sure. You see him and he sort of snickers at you.
If I were to see a lizard folk, being as Lacerta is a lizard goddess, I would give him the holy symbol before moving on into the room.
He gives you the middle finger and the nod. And as you go on through, you see the group sort of forcibly sat awkwardly round. I'm not sure that Nonnery would sit. I think Nonnery's probably floating near a table. Is that correct, Sega? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's sort of the large gentleman. sort of leans over to you, July, and sit or stand. I suppose it doesn't make much difference at this point. The boss will be in a minute. And moments later, Admiral, this voice softly speaks in your ear. Go on in. I'll be in shortly after.
Might assume that you're our host for the evening.
I'm your handler.
Well, I'm old. Please handle with care. And just kind of adjust my jacket and just walk right in.
You hear as you walk away, she sort of, handle with care. I like that. And as you walk in, Admiral, conspicuous in his absence is the lizard folk. It is fairly dark in here at this point. You notice that whilst there was a welcoming light when everybody else went in, it's a little darker in here right now. The bartender sort of looks at you and... Ale or wine?
I'll take an ale, please.
And he sort of pours you an ale, slides it across the bar, and then he sort of thinks twice, and he sort of leans over a little bit, just to make sure that he can hand it down to you, assuming that you're a little short. And he sort of... Go on ahead, you're expected. But I guess you knew that.
The knife was a giveaway, yes.
And as you step in, unlike everybody else, you all will have noticed that each time somebody steps in, this sort of loutish fella blocks the door. But this time, he doesn't. Instead, he turns and he opens the door out, sort of quite gently. And walking through is this sort of armed to the teeth woman. She sort of looks over at you all and takes a moment to sort of make a smile at each of you. Her hair falling down to her side in a lock as she has sort of daggers at her hips and sort of a crossbow on her back and daggers at her boots and legs. She appears to be potentially an elf, potentially a human. And walking in behind her is a sort of 7.5, 8-foot orc. He carries his weapons in his hands. He has a huge jagged sword in his left hand, a nasty looking crossbow in his right hand, and sort of 2 other swords and a hammer at his back, daggers all up his boot, and all down a sort of crosspiece across his chest. He's wearing spiked armor and this horrific looking demonic face mask. He sort of pushes the bouncer out the way and slams the door shut. And the girl steps up to the table and, oh, good evening. Nice of you all to make it, isn't it? How are we doing? I trust that the ale and wine are as terrible as always. And she pulls out a bottle of what is sort of a greeny brown glass bottle, and sort of slides it onto the table where it sort of rattles and rolls halfway down. And she sort of flings 7 shot glasses, each of metal, onto the table. And why don't you drink something nice? Come on. To our employer. Oh, such a pleasure to have you here. Well, I suppose introductions are in order. I'm Kalana. I'll be your handler.
Handling for what?
Well, I let you know the deep and sincere wishes of our employer, and you kind of do what you're told, and no handling is really necessary. Or you don't. And then, well... And she sort of runs her finger up the knife handle, and then I handle. But suffice to say, we're going to be working closely together for, well, the indefinite future, I guess. So for now, I'm a friendly face, and your answers to all your questions.
Asta kind of nervously, gets out of his seat, almost knocking the chair back behind him. I think there's been some kind of mistake. You're all lovely. Nice to meet you all. But I think you got the wrong house. I think you meant to get the house that's a house. Easy mistake to make, so that's fine. Lovely company.
Sit yourself down, Stargazer. Sit yourself down.
With that, he'll like immediately just like sit down.
Asta, right? Ran out of town for his strange ways. They thought you were Peeping Tom, didn't they? Oh, well, sucks to be you. Hard as it is, you have some skills that will be rather useful. Why don't we go round the table and we'll do a little icebreaker exercise? You can sort of introduce yourselves and let us know who you are. Go on, speak up. Don't be shy. We're going to be together for a long time.
Why doesn't your heavily armed friend start? He seems fascinating.
Oh, well, go on then, Jazz. Introduce yourself. He sort of puts his elbow on the table, and it's sort of the whole table tilts slightly and back down. Jazz.
Well, in the vein of that excellent introduction, I'm Royal.
Yes. Strange folk. Not many of your people around, are there?
Not around these parts, I suppose.
We positively spoiled you. You got to meet Midnight, didn't you? She's lovely, isn't she?
She's certainly something. I'm sure we'll be great friends at some point.
I hope so. Well... She sort of looks over at Cinder quite directly.
He usually wears a pair of goggles on his head, and they're sort of down, and he's sort of just looking at everyone in the room. But he doesn't want to talk out of like that like teenage shyness of like new people. Doesn't know quite what to do yet, so he's kind of just waiting for someone else to make the first move.
Roll me a... Oh, sorry, just quickly. Roll me a D100 stuff. Carry on, Stevie.
I was just gonna say, seeing his like teenage shyness, July will kind of reach over and pat his hand. It's okay, dear. Don't you worry about it. I'm July Landry. I'm from Nazugori. I serve at the Temple of Lacerta. Go on, dear. You go now. What's your name?
As much as it can, his sort of cheeks are like, he's blushing a little bit. He's like, I'm Cinder. So sleeve that.
Oh. What have you got there, Cinder? What did you roll?
75.
75. Bear with me a second. You sort of, as you were sitting down, you felt like quite a large lump beneath your hip. As you've reached down, you've seen what appears to be a bag of gold. As you reach in to take one of the coins, though, it seems to be impossible to remove the coins. You found yourself a bag full of gold. Ever full, apparently. She looks at you and... Oh, we're just picking things up now from the seats, are we? Oh, wouldn't worry. There's all sorts of strange things going on here. Well... And she sort of turns to Nonorian. And would you care to introduce yourself?
Nonray will kind of not swiftly, but kind of slowly turn his body around to look at the others as he will speak out loud through one of his many holes of mouths. I am Nonray Mindo. You all are here for the same reason as I am.
Yes, I believe we all got probably the same exceptionally aggressive job offer.
Well, the same, but not the same. Oh, it was most definitely a job offer, as our perceptive Royal has pointed out, though it isn't an offer I'd refuse.
Then it's not an offer, is it? It's more of a demand.
You can refuse if you wish. I'm sure you already know the consequences. Speaking of consequences... would you like to introduce yourself? And she looks finally at Eli. At Admiral, sorry.
Who's Eli? You're muted.
Yeah, I realized that as soon as I spoke. He just kind of alternating between smoking his pipe and drinking his disgusting ale. You can just call me Rufus. Though I do believe the lovely July over there and I have been acquainted for some time.
Admiral, I can't say that I'm happy to see you in this kind of trouble, but it is nice to see a friendly face.
Likewise, dear.
A friendly face. Oh, July. I don't suppose you know any of the others in another guise, do you?
Unless any of them are from Nazugori, I very much doubt it.
July here is a friendly face to everybody when she wants to be. Many friendly faces, one might say. Oh, this is such wonderful. I love introductions, don't you? New friends is so good. Well, I suppose you're wondering why you're here. To put it simply, you have some skills that could be seen as somewhat adequate and slightly useful on occasion. But you're not connected to the city. I don't know how much you know of Valla, but the interplay of the nobles is what dictates the ticking of the city, one might say. And the flow of politic and blood is kind of 50-50 in these cities, and, well, it serves us well that you are not connected to anybody particular here. In other words, you're disposable, and, well, there's no real admission of guilt. You don't know who your employer is, you can't give them up. They are quite lovely, I assure you. But how this is going to work is occasionally they'll have some work for you, and in exchange you will be housed and paid, and oh, I'm sure you'll be very well looked after. As long as you do as asked.
Royal attempted insight tech to see how sarcastic and / or true quite lovely was in that statement.
Yeah, I would say that as you sort of watch, you can give me an insight check. Certainly she makes no attempt to hide that certainly lovely is not exactly how the employers would be perceived.
Characterized by the public? 17's ready specifics. Or
However, you do get the impression that she says the word lovely with a slight shade of bitterness. You know, she then turns to you and... not everybody is a player in the game by choice, but we're all players. So we might as well be friends while we're... What is that? And there's a rap at the door. And sort of bursting in is this young boy. He's a human. He's dressed in complete rags. He's carrying a little pouch, and he sort of runs in and message, ma'am, and he sort of hands it to her, and then he sort of nods, and the bouncer sort of ushers him back out as he hands her a piece of paper. She opens it up, and quite irrelevant. Anyway, as I was saying, it appears that your workload has just doubled. I have a task for you. Well, our employer does. It should be within your grasp and pay grade. First of all, and then she sort of looks over at Jazz and paperwork. Jazz sort of reaches in and pulls out a scroll with his mucky fingers and places it on the table, and she sort of slides it over to you, and you might want to... Oh, for goodness sake, Jazz. What did I tell you about sticky fingers? And with that, she sort of waves her hand, and it cleans itself up a little bit. And these are trade documents. You'll be delivering these to Reginald Dewfoot in the Merchants District. Reginald Dewfoot is under the employ of the Hubeline family. Don't suppose any of you know about the Hubelin family, do you? Does anybody think they might?
There, but not most.
Well, the Hubelin family are interesting enough in their own way, I guess, although I don't know. They're vampires, if that's of any interest. But they're also a noble family and quite well-to-do. And they're in the tailoring industry. And in their employ is Reginald Dewfoot. Deliver the trade documents and he will do as instructed. Should he question it for any reason, and then she takes out a rather posh-looking sort of leather wallet, which she slides over to Rufus. And if he is questioning, go ahead and show him that you have the authority of the Hubelin family to act. You do, in case you missed it. And with that, he sort of slides you. She sort of slides you that leather wallet, inside which, if you do open it up, is the official stamp of the Hubelin family and some information, saying basically that the documents that are provided are authorized and correct, and orders are to be followed, with a very official-looking stamp. She then
Scroll.
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, is the scroll like, is it sealed, or is it like, did they like lay it out so we can see what it says?
The scroll is a sealed set of trade documents. If you are looking curious, she sort of leans across the table, and it's only a set of instructions on delivery and such. You can open them up and have a look and put them back if you must. Up to you. Regardless, yeah. Deliver them, that's the easy bit. And it seems you have another job. Maybe within your pay grade, maybe not. Speaking of pay grade, I mentioned a place to live. We'll get to that afterwards. And then she...
The job? Or after you finish talking about a task?
She looks at you like absolutely shocked that you've actually deigned to speak. And then she sort of nudges the bottle a little further down the table and, after the whiskey. And then she turns to the nasty-looking bouncer fellow and, Gronk, see that Len comes in, will you? Thanks. And she turns back to you and, you must also procure Lady Feraldis' engagement ring. Lady Feraldis is the lady of the Peveron household. She takes it off on the 5th of every 10 day to visit her lover. Conveniently for you, that's tomorrow. When you've got the ring, deliver it to Lornick at the House of Velvet. It's a pleasure house in the Paupers District. Sorry, it's a pleasure house in the Noble District. My mistake.
Will you trade documents first and then that? Or is the trade documents have no end date?
I think that usually in this business, the phrase is, sooner is better. Yesterday is best.
But that's not...
Please don't...
Your speech, dear.
She sort of looks at you, Cinder, and please don't sort of demonstrate your lack of intelligence to everybody on the first breath. Come on. Go back to saying nothing. You looked far more intelligent.
Is there an in-world version of like a Werther's original, like a grandma candy?
Oh yeah.
I pull one out and slide it over to him. Like, it's okay, Grandma. It's okay.
He'll sort of like sadly take and sort of head down, goggles still on, very just like, I don't want to be here, guys.
I want to be playing PlayStation.
I just want to be anywhere but here.
During the
So you
course,
are 18.
during the course of our relationship, there will be some people you can call upon as useful or somewhat useful. We'll get to meeting most of them later, but for now, the important one is this one. And she clicks, and as she clicks, the door opens, and wandering in is a sort of urchin boy. He appears to be sort of 15 or 16. He's got a thick-set club. He's very broad of shoulder. You'll recognise him to be a half-orc. This is Leadheaded Len. You can just call him Leadhead if you prefer. Or Len, or anything else. He'll answer to anything, to be honest, won't you, boy? She sort of clips him on the back of the head, and he sort of, yeah, I'll answer to anything. And she then turns, and Light-Headed Len is not the brightest in our employ, but he's useful enough for what he needs. Do you remember where the house is? 2nd Street, down left-hand side. Yes, well, I suppose that's directions from somewhere. Regardless, and then she sort of dangles out a large iron key. And we've taken the precaution, or the privilege, one of the two, of procuring you a home, a place to stay. Obviously, you didn't have much time to repair. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but don't worry, it's not much from the inside either. Nevertheless, there is room enough for the 6 of you. 6. She turns to Jazz, and weren't we expecting 7? Jazz looks back. I'm sure we were expecting 7. Oh, goodness me. Can somebody call in Trix? Sort of, Lady Len sort of looks up and... we go now? No, go and wait in the common room. Send in Trix. And, with that, she sort of turns to you and... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to start without everybody here. Huh. Well, never mind. As I said, we've procured you a home. There should be room for all of you. You can make it a bit more comfortable over time if you like, I suppose. As I said, you're going to be staying there a while, but I suggest you don't do too much to the outside. On the edge of Dead Town, it's usually best to go unnoticed.
May I ask how long our employment contract is for?
She looks to Jazz and... How long have I been working for our masters? Oh, is that so? He says nothing. Mine has currently lasted 86 years. And counting. Of course, some of you will die by natural causes by then, but that's okay.
One can only hope.
Natural causes is a good way to go, from what I hear. Until you're done. Until you're done.
And who exactly decides the finish line in this race?
Not me, and not you.
What will happen then to my friends if I were to expire of mind?
Oh, we'll find some sort of replacement for you with less tentacles. Your friends, I'm sure, will go about their merry way doing whatever it is they please if you happen to expire for no apparent reason. Why are you considering ritualistic suicide to keep them safe?
No, it is not my time.
No, indeed.
That not want it.
That would be most inconvenient for me as well. Speaking of which, and popping through the door is a kobold. This kobold sort of wears a sort of light bag at his side, and at his fingers is a little bit of sort of blue flame. And he looks at you and looks around. No, well, that's a delightful collection of people, isn't it? He turns to Kalana. What is it you wanted? She looks at him and... Weren't there meant to be 7? He looks back and... well, yes, but unfortunately, it seems the 7th was dead. Bit of an accident, apparently. The dwarf refused to cooperate. He had a long fall. Tragic. Well, according to our employer, well, your employer, I suppose, would make more sense. There will be no 7th. 6 will suffice, apparently. And he sort of turns to Kalana and looks over at the rest of you. Are you sure these are the right people? Are any of them any use? He sort of looks over you. No spine. Wanders on out the room unless any of you stop him before he leaves.
Yes, I do not have a spine. That is correct.
But a sense of humour comes in useful in this industry. Well, I don't particularly mind how you procure the ring, but please, for the love of God, don't kill the woman, and try not to get caught. Any questions?
For what reason are we procuring this ring to begin with?
Oh. Well, why? Indeed, questions that perhaps don't need asking, but nevertheless I shall indulge you on this one occasion. The lady is having an affair. When she takes off her engagement ring, she visits her lover. The husband is not quite aware, but suffice to say he doesn't keep himself to his side of the sheets either. Our employer seeks to ruffle some feathers, or some bed sheets, or both.
Just say it.
Always need evidence. It's always more compelling that way.
That and the ring may turn up somewhere useful.
Yes, I suppose it would be too convenient that you'd be having an affair with the perfect person to frame.
Plots within plots and schemes within schemes. But don't worry, you'll get onto operational status in a couple of decades or so, I guess. But for now, just follow the instructions. It shouldn't be that hard. Speaking of difficult instructions, she looks sort of over at Jazz and back at you all. And should we drink to our relationship and long, healthy lives? She flicks you all a glass of whiskey, and as she sort of gestures, a mage hand sort of starts pouring the whiskey out into all 7 glasses, and she raises the metal cup to you all. To, well, all of the above, really. You are a quiet bunch, aren't you? They're normally full of questions at this point.
If I may be so bold, is our employer as loquacious as you seem to be?
Our employer is concise, specific, and worth keeping pleased, but not particularly forthcoming.
And these questions that you hope are coming, I trust that you ask them just as many.
At first. In this business, it's best to anticipate the answer before you ask the question. Yeah. Then you don't need to ask the question.
Well, if that were true, I'd have the winning lottery numbers now, wouldn't I?
Oh, some answers come to those who think upon them long enough. Perhaps some are written in the stars, or given to us by our gods, or in the clues that we find on the streets, or the minds of others. And then she sort of, as she has said all of that and looked round at all of you, she then turns to Cinder and... no, I've got no metaphor. Perhaps some answers can be knocked out of people? I don't know. Is that what you are, the I suppose I don't really know. I suppose you don't know, do you, why you were called? Oh?
He'll sort of, as upon saying that, he'll like cut himself off at like the last second, and it'll be like, so, as soon as she's like, oh, it's fuck.
As lovely as this conversation has been, we have a specific appointment tomorrow and another thing to finish. We should probably get going.
We should. And then she turns to Jazz briefly and she says, why is he so young? She looks back to Cinder and... what's your name again, boy?
Sort of straightens back a little bit. Cinder?
Wasn't that the son's name? She sort of looks over and... Goodness me, Jazz, you really have tragically fucked up. Well, he'll have to do. Never mind.
Sort of, upon hearing this, Cinder will sort of slowly... You can see his face just solving everything all at once. He's just like, oh, okay, I get it.
She looks around to all of you, and I pray for all of your sakes that he's inherited at least an iota of his father's talent. Otherwise, you won't have much of a bodyguard, will you? Especially with the dwarf dead. Well, best of luck. Len, try not to get them lost. Len sort of looks around at you and... we're going to the house. Might I, round the corner, second on the left, I think. Are we ready? Then I'll take you on the way.
Go. Given them those directions, decidedly not to the district we're supposed to be going to. This should be fascinating.
And he sort of heads out and he turns around and... round the corner, second on the left. And proceeds to lead you...
Like watching him with fascination.
He proceeds to lead you down endless streets. He turns right and left and round a corner and such. But you do seem to be making good progression through the dock ward. As you pass through the dock ward at this sort of time, 9-10 o'clock at night, suddenly as you come round a corner, Len's nowhere to be seen. And standing in front of you is a rather vicious-looking young man. He sort of steps up and looks at you all and... My, what have we got here? Well...
People?
No, I think what we've got is money. Adam, boys! And with that, I will ask you all to roll initiative, please.
First combat of the campaign.
And last.
I was gonna say.
we all are obviously gonna die.
Everything's coming together.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
First roll! I love it. Well, not first roll, but first initiative.
First 20, let's go.
First map 20 in the campaign.
I seem to be missing nonneries. Again.
I think it's rolling. I don't know.
Oh, there we go. Got it. Fantastic.
Those ain't half bad.
And with that, immediately a couple of people start to pop out of the darkness. Oh, I've just realised something. Bear with me a second. You guys can see everything, can't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
On the map?
there's not
Yes.
space on this. Like,
How
there's
about
not
now?
walls. There's the wall.
Cool. So at this,
Darkness? Where'd this come from?
you guys can see something though, right?
Yeah. Yes.
cool,
Yeah,
great.
We can't see the guy in front of us and one other.
Yeah. Well, those of you who have dark vision, indeed. And at this moment, Royal, you quickly assess that this gentleman is probably looking to mug you. And perhaps it might be best to act first.
Joke's on you,
Royal's not really in the mood for that, despite all their good humor they've had today. Their eyes will go like full burning orange, and they'll touch something in a pouch they have on their side as horns appear on their head, and they will cast Flaming Spear back behind this man and then ram it into him.
Okay. Oh, I didn't give you a flaming sphere, did I?
head on the spring for that one, so I'm gonna grab one real fast. I can draw one.
Bear with me a second. Flaming sphere. Whoop.
So,
So
yeah, it starts there, and then as a bonus action, I will.
Yeah, just bear with me a second. I'm just going to hand it to you, and then you can stick it where you want it. I did look at what everybody had prepared, but
It's a lot of things, so.
you should now be able to move it and place it how you wish.
It starts there, and then maybe I can't do it.
You can't move it?
Nope.
Okay, let's find out what we've done there.
It did show up. I could try doing a new one on, but the one on the screen I can't move.
That might be better.
Yep, that'll do it. So it appears there, and then slams into this man. He needs to make me a dexterity saving throw.
Okay. He will do so. Oh, I think I rolled twice. That's a 9. He doesn't have advantage. Ignore the second roll.
So that's gonna take, what is it, 2d6. He takes a full 10 fire damage.
Nice!
And sand went into him. Royal will then peel off and tuck themselves away in this corner, back behind the rest of the party. That's it for me.
He really didn't like that. Is it just on your turn, or is it if he starts his turn in there? It's just on your turn, right?
If he ends there.
Right, great. Well, he's not going to do that. He'll step up. He steps up to July, but then notices that Cinder is carrying a large pouch of gold on his hip. Although he doesn't know he's not going to be able to get the gold out. And with that, he will make 2 attacks at Cinder.
As he does, Sword of Cinder will look at him, and then I need a Wisdom saving throw from him, as I'll use one of my runes.
Okay. Wow, these dice are rocking. That's a 7 on the Wisdom save and a 10 and a 12 to hit you.
He is charmed. His speed is turned to 0 and is incapacitated for 1 minute.
For a minute? Holy shit, that's... Do I have an incapacity?
It can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns. But...
Okay.
It wastes this turn, and then it has to be a resave.
I'm sure we have an incapacitated, but for now I'm just going to put him down as stunned. Cool. Rufus K. Boone Nadler. Get up. I'm going to read that in a different accent every time, if I can manage it.
Oh, please do. Right. Alright. So, he reaches into his coat, pulls out a little hand crossbow, cocks it, the little crossbow part pops out, and I guess he will take aim at this lovely fellow who decided to cross the group, and
Yep.
That is an 18.
An 18 will hit.
Right. And it's sneak attack because he is engaged, correct?
Yes, he is indeed engaged. He is also incapacitated, but I don't think that actually makes any difference to you.
No.
But yeah, sneak attack.
So that is 12 points of piercing damage.
Whew. That is not very comfortable.
Is there any place to kind of, like an alley or nook that he could kind of behind, duck into?
You sort of just come around the corner from the street, and you're pretty backed up against the walls. This is a pretty good spot for an ambush. So yes, there are plenty of places to hide, but they are further down the street. It is fairly dark up at the top, so you could potentially try and hide in the shadows at the top.
Let's see. Why not? I will just kind of, and I will kind of.
Unfortunately, for hiding up there, there is actually light from the flaming spear. 20.
Yeah, that's okay.
This entire.
That's
and this- okay.
it's 20 feet, right?
Yeah, it's 20 feet Bright, an additional 20 feet Tim.
Oh, okay. That should be okay. There's still awnings over there. So it's still, there's still plenty of shadows being cast. As long as you're tactical, which obviously you will understand how to be. I may ask you for a stealth roll at some point, but right now I'll just leave you to be chilling.
I'll say, yeah, I would actually, as a bonus action, I would bonus action hide. If I can.
Yeah. Nonnery. You see that this gentleman is accosting you. I think you can probably also see a gentleman lining a bow up at you a little way down the street.
Okay. He's a bit upset at the whole situation he's been going through right now, and getting mugged is just another terrible part of this day. So he begins to grow a bit red. As he kind of says out loud, a bit, weakly, "Please do not think of doing this, or otherwise you may face the Dusk Maven very early." As he'll kind of, with his tentacles, kind of spraying about, do a little ritualistic spell casting as he points forward and casts a spell of Summon Wisp, which looks like a small kind of wispy-like jellyfish in the air.
I think under spells and assets you should see a summon wisp in the handouts, the generals. You can drag that on and move it as you please. And I anticipated jellyfish a little bit.
Yeah. It's gonna be right there.
It hasn't come up for me yet? Oh, there it is, yep. It has come up for me. I've just got the turn order in front of it. Put that on my house. That'll do. Cool. So you've summoned it up, and it takes its turn immediately after yours. Any bonus action before its turn?
I don't have any bonus action.
Cool.
Right now, I think so. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go here, get next to here.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Okay. Well, I like to do. Okay. And once my turn is over, I will have it target this guy that's riding the crossbow.
Yep, go ahead and roll a hit.
Okay. You want me to roll again because I preemptively rolled?
Oh, that's okay. What did you get?
I got a 26.
That'll hit.
6 psychic.
Nice. Let's not damage the wrong person. Yep, there we go. Okay. Is that its turn?
Yes. It'll shoot this guy and just that'll be it.
Yep. Dashing out of the darkness, a sort of bandit comes running out, and oh, he's the wrong one. Let's oh fuck it, we'll just use him. And he's going to swing an axe at you. Unusual looking fellow to swing an axe, I know. That's a July, but an 8, I'm assuming, does not hit.
Absolutely, yeah, that misses.
Cool. Yeah, I know, right? Cindy, you're up.
Sort of after, like, his goggles sort of, like, shine brightly and the bandit captain got charmed, he'll sort of push his glasses up and he'll sort of, like, breathe in, and as he does, he'll sort of increase in size as I use my, what's it called? My Giant's Might. And then I'll sort of, I'll run over to the guy with the crossbow, and then I'll just attempt to attack him with my glaive.
Doesn't that art look beautiful in larger size? Go ahead and make me an attack roll.
A natural 20.
Okay. That'll hit, obviously.
I'd hope so. Let's see what this crit damage is.
We are using the rules.
13.
Okay.
Slashing damage and an extra 2d6 because I'm big now.
Is it 2d6 or 1d6? What?
It's 1d6, but it's.
Oh, but you crit. Yep, cool. Yeah, of course.
So that's an extra 4 damage, and as I hit him, he'll sort of like he'll speak a word in Giant as as flaming chains surround this bandit, and I need a strength save from him.
Can you do both of those in one turn?
It is whenever you hit a creature using a weapon.
Oh, okay.
Defend
No added action economy. Yeehaw.
Exactly.
It's an 11.
That'll fail. Fiery chains will erupt, and he is. Let me make sure that since I know we had this problem before, he is restrained.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes an extra 2d6 of fire damage.
Okay.
So we'll take another 7, and that'll be my turn.
Nice.
And just like before, it'll make it can repeat the saving throw at the end of its turn, but it'll also take 2d6 every single turn while it's
Cool.
wrapped in the chains.
Okay. And Asta, you're up.
Okay.
Sorry, that creature is wounded a little. So just for you guys who haven't combated with me before, wounded means they are below 50% HP. Severely wounded is below 25%. Sort of orange and red. It's just to give you an idea of how they are looking. Asta, go ahead.
Okay, so seeing all this fighting, Asta's gonna dash over here. And he kind of like skids across the floor. Magic pulsates out of him. And I'm gonna bonus action go into my starry form. That's little
Running
white
away.
stars. What?
Everyone's just running away to the side.
Kinda, we're all ranged. Yeah, I like head into this form, like little white stars appear around him, and a white bow and arrow appears in his hands, and I'm gonna shoot at this guy.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Roll to hit. Nice, so that's 24 to hit.
Yep.
Cool. And that is 7 radiant damage.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And then with my free hand, I'm gonna like hold my hand over to him, and my hand like begins to glow white as a beam of light falls from the sky over him as I cast Moonbeam.
Fuck that one guy.
So
You guys have crazy action economy. That's like 3 different things in a turn for both of you. Yeah, go ahead. It's a con save. Yeah. He can make a con save, I think. Despite being incapacitated. Come on, can I roll above a 10 yet? Yeah, I can. That's a 21.
all right, he'll take half of. Nice. He'll take half of 13 radiant damage.
Okay.
He's stuck in it though.
He's looking mildly annoyed. Does that conclude your turn?
It sure does.
Okay. This archer who is restrained. What does he need to do, Duff?
He can make a strength save at the end of his turn.
At the end of his turn.
Yeah, he'll take 2d6.
On his turn?
Yep. It takes at the start of each of its turn, and it can repeat the save.
Yeah, go ahead and give me damage.
12.
Okay. Max damage, nice. He's not having the best of days. That's fair to say. He will. Well, he's at disadvantage, so he might as well be at disadvantage and disadvantage, and he will attempt to shoot you in the face with disadvantage with his bow. That is a 9 and a 9 to hit you.
Yeah, that'll just.
Yep, and then he makes a strength save at the end of his turn. That's a 14.
Fuck. Yeah, he's free.
Okay, he's free, but ouchied. July, you're up.
I'm gonna start with my bonus action. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and call up my spiritual weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have a picture for it. I just see like.
It should say, yeah, when you drag it on, it should be an image.
Okay, cool.
It'll just summon everything all over.
Yeah.
All on the same guy as well.
We're having a bad day and we don't want to get mugged, so before
It's like
bed,
this.
we can
Any other time, this would be a terrible thing, but right now we're like, yes, something we can take our anger out on.
Obviously, July, I've given you an axe because I had to pick something, but how does your spiritual weapon look to you?
So my spiritual weapon is actually like a giant reaper scythe.
Oh, beautiful.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the spectral scythe will appear in front of this gentleman in front of me, and he needs to. No, that's a melee.
Your roll's a hit.
He needs seven.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
So that's going
Needs to
be-
die already.
Yeah, for real.
It's not wounded yet.
He's a big
that's-
tough leader man.
gonna be a dirty. No, not a dirty 20. It's gonna be an 18 to hit.
18 will hit.
Okay.
It should be rolling. It can't get advantage, right?
No.
It's incapacitated. Sorry.
And even if incapacitated, doesn't give advantage anyway, so.
It says attacks against this creature have advantage. If I'm not
What?
mistaken.
Nope.
Not for just incapacitation, you would need to apply an additional one.
Yeah,
It's
no,
commonly
you're right.
associated with other ones, but
Anyway, that'll hit. Go ahead and roll me some damage.
Yeah, it's gonna take 7 force damage.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my actual action, I'm going to use just my mace to attack this person here to my
Yep.
right.
Okay.
Grandma's got a club.
Go ahead. Roll a hit.
Oh, that's not super great. 10.
That will miss. You sort of strike, but he's quite agile and he just sort of dodges to the side. He's not incapacitated, restrained in a moonbeam and a flaming sphere. So he's having a bit of a better day. Does that conclude your turn, Janai?
Yes, I swing the mace and he dodges out of the way. I say, you just wait right there. That's my-
Leaping down from the rooftop behind you comes another bandit. This bandit makes a sort of sweeping attack at the back of your legs. I'm going to have to roll there because it doesn't work. That's a 17 to hit you, July.
You all sleep elders? Yes, it does.
Yeah, okay, so that is... oh, max damage. That is 7 slashing damage. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Okay.
He's holding a sort of like a strange bow staff. So-
Oh, 4.
Nice. You are knocked prone, and as you are knocked prone, he will then swing it round and try and smack you on the head.
Grandma.
She's all right. That's it's an advantage, isn't it? That's a 19 to hit.
That'll hit.
For another 6 damage. And that'll conclude his turn. And then, screaming as she runs out, is a female with a large... oh, my combat's just refreshed. Bear with me a second. I've really got to find out why this... Yeah, I don't know why it keeps happening to me. It hates me. Screaming as she comes out with this huge greatsword, she will attack Cinder in the back. That is a 13 to hit.
That will miss.
And a 10 to hit. Wow. Look at these rolls.
Can't touch this.
Indeed. And...
Get out.
Okay, bye. See you guys.
Sorry's turn. Oh, sorry.
Have fun. Storm.
Then the second attack is a 21 to hit. You will have advantage to hit this woman as she is attacking recklessly. A 21 will hit, I assume. Cool, we love that. That is minimum damage for a 7 damage.
Ooh.
And... Oh, sorry. 9 damage. Oh, no, it's included in the attack. 7 damage was correct. Royal, you're up.
Alright, I will turn to our little front friend and ask him, could you use any little more protection now, or do you have any protection on yourself?
Who dat? What?
To our little front friend.
Oh, to the flump?
Yep. So that's a question for Donnery. Are you currently running any armor or anything else like that?
I simply wear a cape. I do not wear such frivolities. If need be, I shall ascend.
Alright, we're not gonna trust ascending and I'm doing it anyway. Royal's eyes would glow multicolored and they will twin cast mage armor on themselves and Nonnery.
Cool.
Mark
That's
off
an
the first
idea.
level. And the And then a century point, so I cannot forget. So my AC, excellent. I will then, as a bonus action, take this, draw it back over here, and then ram it into our poor incapacitated.
Yeah, go ahead and give me some damage. He will not make a dex save in that scenario. He's like held by so many different things, I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to say he takes the damage.
8 fire damage then.
Yeah, and he is finally wounded.
Hell yeah.
Cool. And then
Yay!
Royal doesn't really want to hang out in this like cluster that's over here, so they are actually going to move. They are across this wall.
Nice.
And that'll be it.
Darthy makes his save at the end of his turn to be uncapacitated. Uncapacitated, yes. We developed a stutter. Cool. That is a wisdom save, correct?
Yes.
That's a 12. That's a 12.
That will fail.
Okay, 9 on the con save. Go ahead and give me damage. Excuse me.
So he will. Ooh, nice. He'll take 17 radiant damage.
Okay, that actually hurt. That really hurt. He's really not having a good day.
He also ends in it, so he's also going to take fire damage.
Oh yeah, let's do that as well. Let's see if we can severely wound him.
He takes another 11 if he's not making saves this point.
Okay, at this point, the sort of young girl wanders out over here, sort of just quite calmly. And, okay, guys, that's enough. And you'll notice that leaning against the wall is Jazz and Kalana. As they look over and, well, it seems that you are useful, somewhat. Sorry for the drama, we just had to test your metal. She waves her hand and Len becomes visible again, standing in the very middle of the street right next to you all, as he was also watching. And she sort of chuckles and, not bad. She then tosses a bag of silver at the guy who's sort of bleeding and on fire and in a moonbeam.
Really should have called in sick to work today.
And hit with an axe, with a scythe, and everything's sort of wrong with him. And you can take that and go. And then she sort of looks over at Aster and Royal, and I don't suppose we could. And she gestures towards the moonbeam and the flaming sphere.
Yeah, I'll gesture with my hand and it'll dissipate, and my styrofoam will also disperse.
Royal makes a slight hand gesture, and the flaming sphere moves slightly back. It does, however, follow him as he runs at a slower pace than him for the next minute as he exits the scene.
Kalana sort of lets out a little chuckle, and she walks over to July and hands her a sort of piece of vellum. That's a map of the city. Might come in useful for you. Len, take them off. Right. Round the corner, second left, right? Yeah. Very good. And with that, he sort of proceeds down these winding paths, and eventually, if you are happy to follow, leads you to what looks like a somewhat rickety house. Sort of eight windows, very dusty. 2 of them are boarded up, 1 of them smashed. The door is sort of really old oak, and there is a small metal gate in front of the door. Notably, there is only 1 window downstairs. All the other windows are in the upstairs, and the downstairs window is boarded up, and it has sort of a grate over the outside. There's a sputtering street lamp outside that sort of flashes on and off occasionally. And at no point did you take a left or a second left, as far as you can see, nor did you come around a corner. However, I will take an insight check from Royal as Len hands you the key and walks down the street.
It's an 18.
As he takes a right, you can assume that he's going to wherever it was from which it was round the corner and the second left. All of Len's directions need to be from his one place where he sits. Regardless, rusty key in hand, you guys can open up the door. And
he only referenced a few directions, like it's pretty close from he was only like saying a couple turns to get
Round the corner, second left.
Royal will quickly follow Len for a second, just because they want to see exactly where he sits, having realized
Okay.
that.
So he takes a right, and then after a little while, he takes the second right, and you see he's sort of sat up on a little window ledge, on the outside of what looks to be an old chapel or church. There's a little awning over his head, and he's got a little bag by his side, and a sort of blanket. It looks like maybe this is where he sleeps.
Rollis notes that, heads back, and then leans kind of over July's shoulder to point on the map, and actually like pulls out a quill and like marks and writes Len.
Okay.
On the corner where he sits.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I think you guys can probably work out where on the map you guys are. And from that, you might be able to work that out. It might take me a second for this to load. So I'm just going to draw a little circle in purple around where your guys' little outpost is. It's over here. And Len is just... Let's put Len in green. Len is just there. So that gives you an indication of where they are. But as we sort of make our way to this dusty door, and you hear this kind of... as you step in and cobwebs fall down from the top of the ceiling, the place looks like it could really do with a bit of light and a bit of love. We'll take a moment right there. Welcome home. So, welcome back. As you move into this dusty old home, first of all, it's very dark in here. Is anybody going to shed light?
I'll produce a flame, like, in my hand, sort of light up the room.
And I'll cast dancing lights and have them like move around the house to give some light a bit everywhere.
You will notice that there are some torches and sort of candelabras that are very old school, sort of like they're lit, gas lit or candle lit. There are also some of these new fandangled magic lights that have been put in place where you can sort of use a switch on the wall as if run by electric. However, no matter how many times you hit the switch, nothing happens. You currently stand in a sort of living area. There is the wooden frame of what was once possibly a sofa. There's no cushions left on it, and it appears to be home to at least 2 rats. There's a little coffee table with a leg missing that sort of wobbles a little bit in the center. And on the coffee table is a pouch. The pouch bulges quite nicely. It looks like a money pouch. And indeed, if you investigate, there is 1,000 gold pieces inside. And a little note that says, "Buy yourself some furniture." In the kitchen, there is one tap that, as you turn it, goes... and air, dust, and eventually some black filth spills out. But if you leave it running for a couple of minutes, you'll get some water. As you all arrive in these 2 rooms, sort of kitchen and living area, you can see there's a dining room of some sort out to the edge, and what appears to be an office, and a staircase leading upstairs. What are we all doing?
Royal will count up the coin and split it up between everyone.
Okay. Well, I mean, for now, it's worth keeping in a sort of central pouch, because obviously you'll buy some furniture first, I guess, unless you want to sleep on the floor. A-Game, you were saying?
Notary, I guess, is just kind of gonna look around the house, touching furniture of old and the walls, just as a first cursory glance of his new dwellings, I suppose, away from others.
Go ahead and give me an insight check as you search around. Asta, what were you doing?
I'm gonna follow one of my dancing lights upstairs, just to see, if there's any bedrooms, if so, how many, and if there's enough for everyone to pick mine out before everyone else picks theirs.
Yeah, there are 8 rooms upstairs. None of them are particularly spacious. And they sort of line 2 sides of the house. Outside each one is a sort of shuttered windows that technically, if you opened them, would lead onto what's effectively called a Juliet balcony, right? So it's just 3 or 4 inches in front of the door frame is a metal frame, allowing you to sort of have a balcony, but there's no space to stand out there. And you also find 2 fairly well-appointed bathrooms with the new fandangled magic-y plumbing.
Okay, then I'll go to the end of the corridor and the room on the right. I'll leave my dancing light outside that room, and I'll go in and like just start like moving things around.
Yep, give me a perception check. Nonnery, what was your insight check?
21 total.
Nice. You get the impression that although this is on the edge of Dead Town and the Workers' District and the Paupers' District, and it's not particularly nice area, once the furniture in this house was quite rich and expensive. This was once a very well-appointed house. It looks like it hasn't been touched in 40 or 50 years, but apart from perhaps the magical lights and plumbing that have been put in, other than that, yeah, it was definitely once very well preserved and expensive. Your perception check, please, Asta.
11.
As you sort of look around the room, there's an armoire with one door hanging off, inside which is a very old-fashioned piece of clothing that's moth-bitten. There's a strange walking cane in the corner. The bed frame is pretty old and clanky, but there is a fairly new mattress placed on top of it. I mean, I say mattress, this is an old schooly thing, so it's not really a mattress, it's like a bedroll laid out upon it. But, you know, it's definitely, that is the one thing that is not old in this room. And with your 11, you do see a sort of old reel for curtains that would reel back the curtains, but there are no curtains to be seen, and instead there is a large wooden board over the window. Okay, July and Rufus, what are you guys doing?
I will kind of saunter up to July and kind of reach into my pocket, and I will pull out a little handkerchief and hand it to her to wipe. You have a little.
Thank you, darling. I wipe like blood from my nose. That was a rude way of welcoming us to the team, but young folks don't have many manners these days, do they?
It would seem that way. I do hope that you're not in too dire straits in this whole situation.
Don't know what they threatened you with, but what they know about me could make my life quite difficult.
Judging by Kalana's lovely pontificating, I believe that would be a logical conclusion in all of our cases.
They didn't get your granddaughter, did they?
Thankfully, Cora seems to be out of harm's way, at least for the moment. I do appreciate you checking on her, though. They didn't go after the monastery, did they?
Not in a sense. After my position there, most assuredly, but I don't believe any of my other sisters or brothers are in trouble.
Well, then there is some small sliver of good news in all of this darkness. And we have 4-ish walls to call our own.
Can I just ask, are the two of you having this conversation sort of very quietly in a corner, or would Cinder and Royal also be able to hear what's being said?
I'm not being
No.
really quiet about it.
Yeah.
Cool. Just
Come
double
out there
check.
in the open. Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily speaking like to the public, but not like hush hush.
And Royal is absolutely eavesdropping as they pretend to count one.
And I think it's fair to say that after a little while, Aster and Nonnery probably will come back down briefly, if only just to sort of have a little look around the rest of the house before returning to their rooms. It is worth mentioning, Nonnery, as you floated around upstairs, you would have seen that the only thing that is not old in this house is the nice new bedrolls they've put in every single room. Why there are 8 rooms, I'll let you work out.
Are there bedrolls at each too? So there's actually 8?
There are 8 bedrolls indeed.
That's one more than we had before.
Is Cinder also? You said Cinder's also in the room, kind of the main.
Yeah, I'm sort of as we sort of came in, he basically pulled out like a notepad and like a little like pen, and basically just started writing everything down. Like, if you asked him, he'd be like, he's like looking at the architecture. Mostly, he's like, how can we fix this place up? He's like, basically going into like, let's not live in a piece of shit. Like, somewhat nice. Like, he's from Podunk
There's
nowhere,
it.
but you know.
He's making a honey-do list.
Yeah. After checking on July, I'll saunter on over to Cinder and kind of like put my hand on his back and. What do you seem to have there, boy?
And he'll sort of look at you, and when he sort of looks down, his goggles are sort of back down, and he'll be like, in my notepad. Oh, what are you referring to?
You seem to be lost in thought. Something I can be found guilty of on several occasions myself. You seem. I guess we're all worried, but you seem to be here by more mistake than past misdeeds. Are you all right?
He'll sort of like shuffle in that like teenager way when they're like they've obviously done something wrong but don't want to like admit it. Where it's just like I don't know. I guess it's good to hear that I wasn't chosen specifically for this, but it sort of makes sense. It's like everything sort of makes a lot more sense now when I realize that I wasn't the one who was supposed to be chosen for this. But either way, I'm here now, so we all have our parts to play. And he'll sort of like nervously chuckle at that.
Well, it'll be quite all right, son. Whatever you have going on, I'm sure we will do our best to make sure the worst doesn't come to pass. I know in my line of work, it seems to... The facts always, if they don't make things better, they help things make sense. And hopefully we will get more facts soon.
Yeah. Or he'll sort of like nod his head, but then go back to his like little like writings and doodles and stuff like that. And if, like he's pretty tall, but like if like you looked at his sort of notepads, it's all, and none of it's written in like common or anything like that. It's all seemed to be written in, well, runes as it would be like seen, but like it seems he's most comfortable in that.
As you guys are having this little discussion, there's a slight timid tap on the door, and then you all hear a lock, the sound of a key turning in the lock.
Immediately Sacred Flame, ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Rufus kind of pulls out a dagger.
Gun.
But stepping through is a...
Yeah, much less concerned because they have a key. So.
Yeah, and stepping through is a girl who appears to be about 12 or 13 years old. She looks in. Oh, I see you got settled in all right. Very good.
And who might you be?
I'm Carla. They mostly call me Hot Fingers.
What?
Hot Fingers. I used to steal sweet cakes and sweetbreads back from the bakery when I was young, and I was one of the only people who could handle them while they were still piping hot. They called me Hot Fingers. It stuck. Anyway, I'll be taking the room at the end on the left. Apparently I'm to be, what do they call it? At your disposal. If there's something about this city that's worth knowing, then I knows it, at least in terms of where it is and what it is. I'll be your guide, your hand, and I suppose occasionally I might be able to procure you the odd useful. Speaking of odd useful, and she pulls out 2 bottles of wine, plonks them on the table. Housewarming gift.
Roll will go look at them. How nice does this wine look?
Pretty good. Looks like it might have been filched from the Noble Quarter. Indeed, it says elderberry wine on the side.
She was trying to see how good of a thief she was.
Wow. I've had a long day, a long night, a long morning. Dare say that you could say the same. Regardless, yeah, I was promised a roof over me head if I was to be, as they said, at your disposal. And the roof's what I'm here for. So, if you don't mind, nighty night. Oh,
Good night.
I suppose it's worth me mentioning. I do know you all by name. She turns towards July. And all by face except you. You'd be the changeling, I assume.
Her first place she looks is to Rufus.
Just kind of standing there. He has put the knife away and has just casually starting to light his pipe again.
And then around to
Oh, I
everyone else.
see. You didn't all know, did you? Well, that's good, isn't it? Yeah. Well, secret's out now, love. No secrets between teammates, is there? Or is there?
Notary turns pink.
I suppose there's not many secrets among this team.
Well, in the case of secrets, my dad's a noble. My mother's an ore, though. Sorry, you were saying?
I'm sure there'll be some, and I'm sure as exciting and thrilling as that little reveal was, Kala, we won't have your services if you can't keep your mouth shut.
Oh, no, I don't.
I don't know.
I don't tell other people, but as I said, no secrets between teammates, right?
Secrets.
Oh,
Well,
you're
if
the...
there's no secrets between teammates, then you wouldn't mind telling us who our employer is.
Oh, I wish I knew that. My employer's Kalana. She's the one giving me the roof over her head, and she's the one telling me that I'm to be at your disposal. I don't go much higher than that. There are lots of rumours. Most people are kind of in the boat that she's working for her noble family. That's a pretty good bet. Couple of people think she might be with the Montagners. Couple say the Grenworthys. Someone say the Eastmoors. There's some rumours about the Maybrooks, but I think they're a bit nastier than Kalana might be. But frankly, it could be most of them, really. Those nosy satyrs tend to only employ people in the shade. Well, I think people are crossing things off the list as she works against certain households. Me? I don't think she works for a noble at all. I think she works for someone who wants power who isn't one. Well, I tell you what I do know, though. She don't work for the Kren. Wait, none of you know who the Kren is?
I'm from the middle of nowhere. I don't know anything about this city.
You're the mistake, right? Meant to grab the dad?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
I'll let you in a little secret. Wasn't a mistake.
Okay. He'll sort of just be like, I'm here now. It doesn't matter. I'm stuck here.
Rumour says that you're pretty good at what you do with them rune things. Or so the street says.
He'll sort of have a face on it where it's just like he's not denying it, but also you also see a hint of like smugness where he's just like, yeah, I figure.
Well,
I know what I'm good at.
you know. No, Kalana thinks it's a mistake anyway. But regardless, I was telling you about the Kren, wasn't I? The Kren is, well, the head of the underworld, I guess, in some ways. He's a crook, and by crook I mean he's got his fingers in every pie of dark, shady business you can imagine. But he presents himself as a well-to-do gentleman, you know. A little bit outside the law, no one really stops him. But he rules Dead Town. And as for that, and she sort of gestures to the house, he's also your landlord. Kalana does him some favours occasionally, but I can tell you for free, she don't work for him.
Wait, so do we have to pay rent?
No, well, I think that's part and parcel of your deal, isn't it? Well, I don't fuss myself too much with the details. And she leans over to where Royal's counting out the coins, and unless you stop her, she'll take a single gold coin.
Royal will slut her hand.
Hold on. I was just checking it was real, to be honest. She sort of looks at it and seems real enough to me. If I wanted it, I would have filched it when I put it on the table, you know? And with that, she turns around to you all and... Well, I guess it's good even, good night, and see you in the morning. Unless... Anything else?
Second
Tonight,
question.
if you get up in the morning and you're really so good at finding things, we could probably use a floor plan to the house we need to rob.
I'm not sure I'd know it if I saw it, that's the only problem. Can't read. I can ask around.
I don't think that's a good
If you-
idea.
Well, quietly. Do you think I am? Some kind of two-bit pickpocket?
Well, no, it's just asking around for a floor plan to a noble house seems a little...
Well, it might be that I could potentially ask somebody who could impersonate a construction worker who might say that they're making improvements on the house or something. You know, I don't know. I don't know. There's a word for it, but I can't remember it.
I mean, if any of you are better at simply casing it ourselves, we can do that. But I prefer pre-planning if possible.
We could talk about it in the morning.
Business over breakfast does sound good. Did you have a question? And she looks over at Nonnery.
Yes. Are you here willingly?
Sorry?
Are you here willingly?
Well, is anyone? Did I choose to need a roof over my head? Not really. Did I choose for my mother to die when I was 2? Not really. Did I choose for my father not to mention who I am or acknowledge me in any way? Not really. Do I need the house? Probably. Do I need the money? Definitely. Did I choose it? Well, I suppose, in a way. But they ain't got nothing hanging over me head like you guys have. And frankly, there's not much I've got left to care about in this world other than myself. So,
Nunnery
sure.
turns blue.
Oh. Well, that's flashy trick, innit?
Does she seem to, I guess, give like any kind of tells or anything when she says, I don't have anything else, anything to care about in this world or anything that cares about me? Does she seem forthright with that, or is that just kind of a facade?
Give me an insight check.
Can I also make one?
17.
You'll get very different things, so go ahead. Nora.
Yeah, 17 for Rufus.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's wrong. It's just real slow.
It's hardware acceleration. We'll explain after session. It's a nightmare when it's not rolling properly. Well, regardless, Rufus, you will notice that she doesn't seem to have anything up her sleeve? Any sort of, she definitely seems like she's being honest and truthful. In all reasons, she hasn't got much to hide. Nonary, you're a bit wrapped up in your own emotions to be able to discern what she's feeling in this moment. July, though, you sort of passively understand that there is an element of sadness, bitterness, that has made her a little callous in this situation. You've seen this before with sort of young children who lose their parents. They can sometimes sort of close off emotionally, and that seems to be what's happened with her. And she looks at you and, well,
Night.
pleasure to be part of the team, or whatever it is. Oh, the lights don't work. And with that,
Noted, yes.
I'll sort of like hold my hand up, which still has a flame, and just like.
she pops out what appears to be some sort of like flintlock. Not the pistol type. It's
She's
just
got
a no. As a
gun.
it's like a sort of automated tinder. So the flint sort of strikes when she clicks it, giving a small little light, and she leads her way up the stairs with that. And
As she's leaving, I try to be subtle, but I'll toss her one of the in World Werther's candies.
she catches them. Oh, Kesmints. Love these. Flicks it up in the
How
air,
old
catches
are
it in her
they?
mouth.
Oh, listen, they've been in the bottom of her bag for a long time, okay?
True granny candy.
For somebody who filches off fruit and vegetable, she'll be over the moon. And as she heads upstairs, and the rest of you are left downstairs, I think that is where we'll end for today's session. With that, we come to the time-honoured tradition of MVPs. Obviously, Darth and Josh, you've done this before, so we'll come to you guys first. Darth, your MVP for the session.
This sounds a little selfish, but I love Cinder just being completely confused and everything that's going on. Just because he barely understands what's going on, and when he thinks he figures it out, it's like he didn't really figure it out. And him being like half depressed all session with his little goggles on, it's just like, okay.
The most important thing when you're playing a new character in a campaign is that you enjoy the characters, so I'm really glad about that. Josh.
So I have two. One of them is just everyone's reaction to each of their individual letters. That was really interesting to see their reactions and how that affected them then going forward. But I think my main MVP actually goes to Stevie. As someone who can't do voices, I really think it's cool when people can. So the fact that you're also playing a changeling who changes their voice when they change race is just so awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the accent that came out of July was so good that I wondered if you'd been putting on your own accent. And that was the real one underneath. I really enjoyed that. Trill. A moment or something that happened or just something you really liked about the session.
All of the NPCs in the bar, though. Just more people's reactions to their letters was fun. I think people's reaction to the barkeeper and his question that he insists on was a very fun character moment, and I really liked that sequence and the interaction with the lizard folk and stuff in there. But that was very fun. Figure out who's our drinkers and who's not, and confused by simple questions.
It's amazing how much of a read you can get in a character just by asking ale or wine. I hadn't originally planned to ask every single person, but when it started provoking reactions, I thought, fuck it, let's go. Again.
I would have to say Darth's character is Cinder. I enjoyed his portrayal of this young guy in this situation, thinking he's not supposed to be here. Like, oh fuck, I was here by accident. Shit, I like that. That was fun to see.
I hope you didn't mind that, Darth. I thought it was a sort of an interesting angle.
I think it's great. Honestly, I love it.
It's just because everybody else sort of is at least sort of 30, 40 years old. Some of these races have lived like sort of 70 or 80 years. Then you just turn up this 18-year-old shy kid. It's like, the fuck? Eli.
So two kind of kind of. The first one, I know it's been said, but yeah, just the letters, the notes, just seeing everyone's interactions about how, and like, I know we kind of discussed it pre-game, but like, still like, kind of the hook for everything, but then how everyone was still just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, how twisted everything kind of was still the fact that it was... Yeah, that was too much blood for that sentence. If that's not the name of this episode, I don't know what is. And then because despite being in my 30s, I have the maturity of a 10-year-old. And not knowing what a flump was at first.
I know what's coming.
When Nunnery turned around, one of his many holes, his mouth, like, what? How many mouths do you have?
I had to mute. I was just like, that's one way of describing talking out your ass is what would get you in my mind.
That caught me so off guard. I'm like, oh, I'd assume he's gonna speak audibly this time. Oh yeah, he's gonna speak out of one of his many holes.
Yeah. That was a brilliant line. Yeah, no, definitely, I agree. Stevie?
Yeah, I have to give it to Nonary as well. I love the mood ring changing. That is so, I'm so excited to keep track of that and like start to figure it out in character. I just think that's brilliant. And also I really enjoyed, maybe it was kind of a cheap joke, but I really enjoyed that I don't have a spine.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I really enjoyed that too. Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of sort of more just surprise moments, I guess, for me. Because obviously, most of these things, most of these letters, I had either planned with the player or, you know, at least knew something of it. A couple of you completely threw me by where you said you were. Specifically, Stevie, that entire scene was improvised. I had no expectations at all of you saying you were going to go and see someone dying. I was like, shit, I had this whole thing planned for being at the monastery, and when you weren't there, I was like, cool, let's go sideways with that. And I really enjoyed getting your opinion to really sort of go a bit mindfuckery with that. And the same with Trill, when you were like, I'm in Valla, I was like, huh? Yeah, that totally took me for a loop. So again, I had to give a little foreshadow to a future character, which I think was a bit of fun, getting to meet Midnight. I really enjoy the different flavours of characters. It's already becoming clear sort of where we've got the comic relief, where we've got the combat focus, where we've got the shy character, who's likely to take the lead in certain situations. But at the same time, we've got so little in terms of like real depth of personality and stuff. You know, we've just got those hints coming out, which is really great fun. But I have to say, my overriding MVP, I have never in any time I've ran a campaign had a nod to a Werther's original. I haven't seen one of those since I was about 9 years old, and my 70-year-old stepdad sort of handed me one on an aeroplane.
I was really hoping that July would have some, and as soon as you were like, she pulls out Werther's original, I'm like, yes, everything I want is coming together.
Yeah, no, I thought that just blew my mind when you was like, is there a version of an Werther's original? And I'm not gonna lie, like, in every moment of slight downtime, I was trying to work out what we were going to call it.
I like that, it's great.
So, yeah, I hope you guys had fun. Obviously, it's a pleasure to have a first session under our belt. Yeah, I don't. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I've only prepped this much. But I'm thoroughly looking forward to next week. I think it's going to be super exciting. Really glad to get things going. Just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Phoenix Astra, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the duck pond. Please stay the fuck away from my pond life. Oh, well, hello there. And Jamal, welcome back to the Quack Pack for 16 months. Thank you very much for the Prime. And with that, I think we will end. Are we going to visit anybody, or are we departing there? That is the question. We are going to end there. So, if you guys would like to say goodbye...
Goodbye.
See you later.
We shall see you soon.
Have a wonderful time.